Making waves this past year, the Indigenous community has found a voice in Hollywood through Lily Gladstone, Alaqua Cox, and Devery Jacobs. All three of these women have appeared in major films and TV shows revolving around the Indigenous community. I'm Leanna Bressan, a journalist here in Edmonton, and I'm going to be talking to you about today's Indigenous film culture.
There's something nostalgic about watching Smoke Signals, and I feel like it hits a lot of things that hit close to home, like generational trauma and alcoholism and like those types of rough things that we have to deal with within our community. But it also has jokes and it has laughter and like it has that resiliency, and also just like Thomas taking care of his grandmother. Like living with your grandmothers or like your grandparents is a big part of our community and that sort of thing. And so even just within my friend group, we always quote Smoke Signals and stuff. I remember one time I was giving a tour of the center here, and it was an Indigenous man, and it was this faculty lady. She was white, and he like made a joke and like quoted the movie, and I finished the quote, and we were like laughing and stuff, and bless the white lady, she was just like, and just kind of like politely smiling. Him and I like shared a look of like, she doesn't get it sort of thing. So we were like having this like almost inside joke, not on purpose. And the poor lady was like, I don't know what's happening. And we just kind of had to move on. But it was that almost like immediate sense of community.
That was Alex Lamont, the president of MacEwan's Indigenous Students Club and an avid movie buff. When it comes to major motion studios like Marvel, she has some thoughts on how they have begun to portray the Indigenous community.
Even the What If episode about Kahori. That episode made me cry, and doing it all in the native language was really important because obviously you wouldn't be speaking English if you hadn't been colonized yet. So even just having those little bits there is like so important. I can only imagine what our kids today have and will have even in the future compared to when I was 8.
Kahori is a young woman who comes from the Mohawk tribe. In Season 2 of Marvel's What If, we meet the tribe as she gains supernatural powers, defeats the Spanish Empire, and saves her home. What set the show apart from any of the others that Marvel Studios has made within the past few years was that it was entirely spoken in the Kanakaya language with English subtitles, something that has rarely been done in something as mainstream and widely watched as a Marvel TV show.
I think that's really important, especially with language revitalization happening, because one of the things is that a lot of us have lost our language through residential schools or the 60 scoop, or even like modern day child welfare, like being taken from your homes and not being able to speak your own language. And like one of the hardest parts is like losing that language, and then when you try and get back to it, you don't have anyone to talk to. That's the main time you can learn and interact with the language, is when you have someone to talk to. And so I think having these types of things where they have the subtitles and they have it in the native language are like really important for language revitalization.
The infamous studio did something similar with their live-action 6-part series called Echo. It's based on the deaf amputee hero from the comics. Menominee actress Alaqua Cox plays Maya Lopez, who previously appeared in Hawkeye back in 2021. Her character was widely beloved, leading to the creation of this show. The show follows her character going back to her roots in Oklahoma to reconnect with her Indigenous heritage and fight the infamous Kingpin. The language and tradition that were displayed in the show draws the audience in beyond compare. The language and tradition that was displayed in the show draws the audience in beyond compare. The traditional Choctaw language is a primary language when the characters interact.
Having those traditional dances, and it looked like they were having a powwow, and those types of things really like resonate with me. And the idea of having an Indigenous superhero is a really big deal. And her being Indigenous, but also being an amputee, but also being a person who's deaf. And all these were not just one layered 2D people, like it's not just Indigenous. She's from a specific tribe, and she also has disability. So all these things that make up who she is, which is like really beautiful.
But you will find English interspersed between the script and a lot of silence.
That's going to be a very silent project. And my character, he doesn't know any better. Because in the deaf community, when you're signing, you don't speak. Even if you can, or if you're hard of hearing and you can still sign and speak, you usually just pick one or the other. You don't do that.
That was Cree filmmaker, writer, and actor Cody Lightning, who you might recognize from his recently released mockumentary Hey Victor and Maya Lopez's cousin Biscuits in Marvel's Echo.
He's the go-to guy. He's a lovable dude. He's Maya's cousin, and he's the one that she goes to if she needs anything. He's reliable. He's resourceful.
Lightning has been working in the film industry since 1993, at a young age of just 7 years old. Since then, he has gone on to appear in Smoke Signals and makes his own short films. Having seen a lot of the Hollywood film scene up close, Lightning has a lot to say about how Indigenous people are treated in it.
There was a couple big festivals that had Native forums in them, and they don't anymore. And to get into some festivals, especially the big ones, it's not even about independent film anymore a lot of times, unfortunately. There's like big, huge budget productions with A-list actors in these festivals, and people who put their blood, sweat, and tears in these independent projects are getting turned down, and that sucks, because that's what these things are for, is for filmmakers to showcase their work, and it's not happening like it should. This section of history that's being made of creators and performers and artists and stuff like that gets to be on the up and up and on the rise. And I know so many younger people now that are involved in the industry. When I was younger, there weren't too many Indigenous youth actors. There was a few of us. Now there's so many, and those avenues are also opened up on social media. So it just depends on, like, if kids that want to be popular and famous, right, you can do that any way you want nowadays. You can do that any way you want. But if you want to be known for a skill, talent, or something like that, then those doors are opening up big time, way more than they were available or acknowledged from the past now, and it's growing. So it's good to see that. It's been way too long.
But with more accurate Indigenous content coming out, language revitalization is also on the rise.
There's a couple like Indigenous cartoons that are out. That's awesome that it's happening a lot more. People in general, especially our young ones, to be more familiar with the language of whatever the tribe is being portrayed in the project. You know, a lot of our languages are dying. I know like no Cree. I'm in that boat. I mean, that's not like the end-all solution, but especially for our kids, we'll be more interested in, because right now they're learning from their phones. And with the no filming and no pictures and ceremonies and stuff like that, where are our kids supposed to learn? They know every single thing about these celebrities that they see, about these trends on social media and all that stuff, but they don't know about our own culture and language and identity. But you're not allowed to do that, right, with your phone. So I've had discussions with people too about that, like if we should be able to film or post about our ceremonies and stuff like that so our kids can learn. There's kids that are 16, 17, 18, that have never been to a single ceremony. And for me, that's heartbreaking, because they know everything about these artists and all this other stuff coming out on the internet, but they have no clue about our own stuff, where we're from. And storytelling's always been in us innately, especially as Indigenous people, we're storytellers. And now I'm writing and directing, but before I'm a writer, I am a storyteller.
Having been in the industry for so long, Lightning uses the opportunities he's had for good.
That's a huge part of our job, is to employ and give opportunities to others. Like, it's a gift that we have to give back. I was given a gift of creating and storytelling and being a director, producer, actor, and I'd be selfish if I held on to that. That's not my right. It's my job to give that back to others. I've been given that gift, I've used it, and it's benefited my life, and it will, and now it's my job to give that back.
Marvel isn't the only studio that showcases the Indigenous community. Recently, Killers of the Flower Moon actress Lily Gladstone became the first Native American to be nominated for Best Actress at the Academy Awards. When not long ago, in 1973, Sacheen Littlefeather was heckled and mocked off the Oscar stage when Marlon Brando instructed her to decline his Best Actor award due to the mistreatment of American Indigenous people by the film industry. Even with Gladstone's nomination and an official apology from the Academy for their behavior, some viewers still find the films to be another white savior one.
A friend went before me and she was like, I don't think you'll have a good time. Like, there was a lot of just brutal, like, murder and violence, and we already have that. We deal with that day to day. And I feel like we're going to the movies or we're watching this to escape. Those are horrors that we live through today. And so it's kind of hard to imagine that I would go to a movie that's like 2.5 hours long, written by a white man, directed by a white man, telling the story of Indigenous people, but from a white savior lens.
Since the 1973 incident, strides have been made for more inclusion in media, from Indigenous filmmakers and writers getting the chance to showcase their work in independent film festivals, to Marvel's adamant display of Indigenous culture. The table is widening in more ways than one.
We've had had to like fight for everything we have. I don't think just because of her win that all the doors are gonna start opening, but we're resilient, and so if anyone's gonna get at the table, it's gonna be us.
Thanks for joining me for The Indigenous Lens, exploring identity through film. Our theme music is called Please Calm My Mind by Alexei Kaplinsky, and I'm your host, Leanna Bressan. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.